First on my top 10 list of the greatest inventions of the 20th century is the television. The first televisions and broadcasts came out in 1928. Originally, televisions were used to broadcast news, but slowly became forms of entertainment. The original televisions were in black and white, but by 1950 they became available in color. As the years passed, the television developed into what it is now. Number 9. The automobile, one of today's most popular modes of transportation. They became mainstream in 1915 as the Model T Ford. Without these, we'd still be using the horse and carriage. The designs of the old cars have been greatly improved into the things you see on the road nowadays. The downside, though, is that we've become dependent on them, and it is costing the Earth and us citizens greatly. The 8th greatest invention of this century is the increasingly durable materials. Plastics have become higher quality, as with steel. Steel has allowed for the creation of bridges, skyscrapers, larger ships, railways, and many other 20th century constructions. 7. Airplanes. In 1903, Orville and Wilbur Wright had their first successful flight. Within 15 years, commercial flights became available to people in 1914. Since then, airplanes have become more developed and are used by thousands of people every day. The military has also had an interest in airplanes, as fighter jets have been developed. 6. Nuclear technology. Nuclear technology was first discovered as radioactivity in 1869, but the first nuclear weapon was not used until 1945. These horrible devices were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. In the 1950s, nuclear reactors started to be used as energy sources. Hey, dude, I'll call you right back. Coming in place number 5, the cell phone. These nifty little things were first released in Japan around the 1980s. Originally, they were large, bulky things that might as well have been walkie-talkies. But since then, they've been constantly being upgraded to the cool devices we use now. Blech! Rotten food. Thank God for refrigeration. That's right. 4th place. Refrigeration has been around since the 1870s commercially, but was never produced for homes until the 1920s. It was great once it came out, but it was later discovered that the main coolant, CFC, caused degradation of the ozone layer, and so it was banned. Now there are less harmful coolant systems in modern refrigerators. No, it wasn't invented by Al Gore. 3rd on my list, the Internet. The Internet was originally ARPANET, a research connection between UCLA and Stanford, made in 1969. Later, UC Santa Barbara and the University of Utah were added. Out of this, the Internet evolved, until finally TCP/IP was introduced in 1982, and the Internet went worldwide. At the beginning of the www. Era, there was no web pages like the ones we now know, and the HTTP protocol was rivaled against the now obsolete Gopher protocol. In 1993, the first web browsers came out. Also around that time, web crawlers were invented to index the web. Search algorithms were made, and that was the birth of search engines. And from all of this came the Internet you know today. A matter of life and death. Ranking in at number 2 for the all-time best invention of the century has to be the increase in medical technologies. Thanks to many factors in the health departments, such as better drugs, superior equipment, and more advanced diagnosing techniques, the life expectancy rose 30 years from the beginning of the 20th century to the end. Wow. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for, number 1, all-time greatest invention of the century, the computer! Almost everything now requires a computer in order to be done in a reasonable amount of time. When you're doing your homework and you use a calculator, you're using a form of computer. When you're in line at a grocery store, the cash register is a type of computer. Research is now mainly done on computers. Music is refined and even made with computers. Any form of science-related job will require you to use a computer. Even this very project has been made on a computer. These devices have most definitely created the largest and most beneficial change over any invention of the 20th century.